If you are a business owner, an entrepreneur, or you really just live in the digital world, so all of us, you know that what you put out there online really matters to your image and how you're gonna get clients and customers and how people are gonna see you and perceive you. My name is Esther Knox-DeKoning. I am the founder and lead creative at Seraph Design. We are a full-service design studio committed to storytelling through design to touch lives and move mountains. We primarily work with nonprofits and socially conscious brands to bring their branding and their website to life through storytelling and really making sure that they have this powerful image that they can put forth into the world to really create impact and touch lives and make change and make the world a better place. So today actually is the launch of our new seraphddesign.com, our new digital home, and I'm so excited to share it with the world. And while we're sharing it, I figured I would take you through the process of creating the website from start to finish, what it was like during the process, the people that I employed along the way to help create Seraph Design 2.0 into this new and evolved state. Today I'm going to share with you the 6 steps to take when you're creating a new website. Whether you're DIYing this or you're working with a designer, there are 6 things that you really need to focus in on, 6 areas while you're going through the process. And this is going to make sure that you have maximum success, you have maximum clarity, because I believe that clarity is the most important thing when you're creating a website. You want people to understand what you're putting out there, and you want to be able to tell your story really well. So first, you're going to have to focus on your strategy. In November of 2022, so last year, I hired a strategist, Alejandra McPherson, to come into Seraph Design and kind of poke around and see what are the points that we're missing at, where are we not hitting our audience, where are we not clear on what our brand is, who we serve, and the type of work we want to put out there. What's our perspective on the world? I had come to her with a lot of things like, well, I just want to make the world a better place. Is that so hard? And a lot of the things that we uncovered is yes, you can make the world a better place. You can try to make the world a better place, but what does that mean to you specifically? So going through strategy was really sitting down with a strategist to understand and uncover, where am I not clear? Where am I overlooking certain things? Where are my frameworks not quite hitting? And digging into who is Seraph Design? What is the meaning of it? Who are we trying to target? So at the beginning of this, I shared that we work with nonprofits and socially conscious brands, but prior to 2022, I didn't quite know actually that's who I was targeting. I knew in my head I wanted to work with people who were doing good or giving back to the world, or they had a diverse platform, but I didn't nail down that language until I was working with Alejandra, my strategist, to understand, okay, it's not just people who are doing good for the world, but it's people who are boots on the ground actually making a change. And so that's where the wheels started turning a little bit more, and I felt like I got a little bit more clarity. So I came to the conclusion with my strategist that it's about finding common ground. It's about sharing stories. It's about creating beauty in the world, but not beauty for beauty's sake, but actually to create an impact in lives, to touch lives, and to be able to help people build the businesses and the nonprofits that help others in their community. So not just the individual. And through the strategy as well, we were trying to figure out, what does Seraph Design's trajectory look like? Where are we going from here? I have worked in agencies, in marketing, in lots of different styles of businesses, and I had no idea where I wanted to take Seraph Design. So working with my strategist, I sat down to understand, okay, what do I actually want for the next year for Seraph Design, for 5 years, and planning out this trajectory of what the business is going to grow into. And sitting down and really thinking through that, thinking through goals, was super helpful for me. And I do this with my own clients. We sit down and we talk through your goals, and we talk through, who are you trying to attract? Who are you trying to bring in? What's your mindset towards your business, and what does that mean for your business? and I had a hard time doing it myself. And so it was really good to have Alejandra come in and talk me through it, walk me through the process that I do for my clients, and really get to the nitty-gritty of who I am so that I can then move forward. And I will be honest, a lot of the things that I changed because of my strategy, I had not planned to. I had not planned to launch a new website. I was pretty content with where it was before, but going through the strategy and nailing down who I was trying to serve, what messaging I was trying to put out there, I realized that my website just wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't actually saying the things I wanted to say. The messaging was not there. You couldn't see the idea and the passion behind the business, and now you can, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I really recommend starting with strategy. It's the most important thing. It's the foundation of any business. Really, your business plan it's baked into the strategy. Coming out of strategy, I always work with my clients to refine their branding. So maybe they already have a brand, but really tweaking it a little bit more to fit in line with the strategy. Maybe that relates to the logo, maybe it relates to the color or the type or a system as a whole. I have worked on clients before who need a full color system, or they need a photography system. So it really depends on what the business is and what you've uncovered in the strategy to then see, does that actually fit what you're trying to achieve through your messaging? Now, Seraph Design did not go through a rebranding phase, and that's because I felt that it already was there. Seraph Design's brand already had a lot of storytelling in it. It was inspired by my mother's Chinese bowls. It was inspired by my heritage. And I felt that in combination with my story of growing up, it was all there already and did not need to be reworked. Now, does that mean that in the future we don't have to do anything to it? Not necessarily. If later on we feel that it actually needs to be a little bit more tightened, then that's a time when we will go and redo the branding and rework that. But for now, it is what it is. So we did not do the branding phase, but rebranding can be really powerful, a really simple way to elevate your business and take a step into the right direction. If your brand was not hitting all the senses, it wasn't attracting the right people. Colors have a lot of potential. They have a lot of emotion within them. If the colors weren't feeling right, then that's a time where it is important to get into the rebranding before you then get into anything else in your business. So the next phase of creating a website is your copywriting. It's kind of the most important thing because it tells people what is on your site or what you do or how they can be a part of it or how they can get excited. It has all of the emotions in words. And so copywriting is crucial before you even get into any of the design of your website, because you really need to nail down the messaging there, and the design can flow through there. The messaging is the storytelling, and that kind of goes hand in hand with UI design because you want to create this narrative throughout your site. But it's also most important to have the clarity through your website. Make sure that when people go on, they know exactly what you do. They know your services, your programs, how to get in contact with you, how to donate to you, what kind of work you're doing, what kind of things that you are doing to make impact. And the copywriting is a huge part of this. And so during strategy, I'd really uncovered that I was not clear with my copy. My copy was saying, oh, we're a brand and website design studio, but it wasn't saying we are a design studio who helps people touch lives and move mountains, and who works with nonprofits and works in these sectors to be able to improve the way that people communicate to their donors and their audience. And also here's the case studies that I worked on. Case studies are a huge part of copywriting as well, to think through, how do I want to share what we've done? So maybe you're a nonprofit who has a lot of different projects around the country, around the world, and you have to share kind of in a small area what that project entails. What was the approach? What's the mission? What was the main goals for the project, and how did you achieve them? That's what I had to do through my case studies, and that's what's really important in your websites, to be able to tell people the who, what, when, where, why, how of your projects and of your business itself. Because copy is what's going to help them stay. Design is like, it'll help grab their attention, but copy is what's going to have them stay and really dig into who you are, feel super connected to you and your mission, to your brand, and that's going to create community over time and a lasting community and lasting impressions that people actually feel connected to you. We talk about like cult followings all the time. There's cult followed brands. Now, this is of course not necessarily like nonprofits, but cult followed brands have key messaging that they've curated, and it works because people really want to be connected to it and stay connected to it. Another thing with the copywriting is I had to really think through how I would meet people where they are. So when they're coming onto the homepage, or they're going to dig into the perspectives, like what do we believe, or they're going to just go and work with us, how does each page serve its purpose and meet the people exactly where they are? So as you go through your site, really think through what are people going to need to see here? What are people going to actually want to get and download? Because it can be kind of easy to actually give them too much copy that doesn't even mean anything. Not everybody's going to read through your whole site, but for the people that do, you want it to be extremely quality. So we went through copy prompts to really think through what we wanted in each section and organizing the hierarchy of the whole website, and that's really important to do before you get into design. When I work with clients, copywriting is important before we get into website design, and we do bring in copywriters to help out through this process. So the copywriters help with prompts and help with constructing the story alongside the client. Now, sometimes clients don't want the copywriter's input, and so they will do it in-house and they'll do it on their own because they are so close to the story and they know it themselves, and that is totally okay. I'm going to talk about an editor process at the end because that's the sixth part, is in the quality control. So if you don't want to work with a copywriter, that's okay. There's so many different ways to get all of the messaging together, and you can do it yourself too. There's just some things to think about. So like I said, the who, the what, the why. The why is so important. How people can be a part of your business, how they can get involved with you. Then we get into design. And of course, design is what gets me the most excited. So I get excited to then pull everything that I've written together, think through the strategy, and now it's all ready to just like brain dump onto my Figma file. And that's where I'll start to play with, okay, how do we want things to interact together? We have to think through photography, pulling in quality photos that they might be branded photos. And this is the time where you would have branded photos to pull in if you did a photography process. Or they might be stock photos. And if you're using stock photos, there's so much out there. And so you can go through and find a million different things, but it's really important to think through, how do I want this story to be told, and how is the photo going to actually capture that emotion? So throughout my website, I use a combination of branded photos, but also some stock photography, and I use photos with high contrast and high emotion, a lot of dark images, black and whites, to tell this really impactful story that has nostalgia to it, it has emotion to it. But your website might be different. Maybe your website needs vibrant photos. So going through the process of thinking through how you want this to come together is really important. But photos and video are super important in a website to be able to capture audience attention. Through the design process, we think about creating a story and how people are going to flow through it. I also am super passionate about making things really interactive and feeling playful and light and engaging. I don't want people to go through my website and think, oh, it's something I've already seen before. And I do this with all of my clients too. I don't want their websites to be boring either. So we go through and we think through, how are we going to lay things out that are boundary pushing, breaking the mold in a typical website design that has photo and text. But how do we play into that and animations into that to create this unique experience that allows people to take a journey through and be surprised and delighted throughout the process. The design phase goes hand in hand with the development phase because in order to create a website that has all of the bells and whistles and feels super unique, you have to have a development mindset when you are designing. And so I always think through how I want things to flow through the whole page. And then I do outsource development occasionally, and I did for this particular project. My developer, José Roa, is incredible, and he is great at taking what I've created and also expanding on it. So I have the development mindset of thinking through how I want things to play out on the site, what I want people to see first, and then where their eye goes next, because it's not linear. It's always going to be bouncing back and forth because that's what engages people's eyes. Now, it's not making anything super jarring that it's like, oh my gosh, my eyes hurt so much, but it's thinking through how you want things to appear. And it's kind of like video. If you think about it, it's just pixels. There's so much that goes into it, but then you hand off to a developer, and that's where they can take it and make it shine. So they actually put the pieces together, everything that has been created, and they make it come to life. And Jose is incredible because not only does he make it come to life in the exact animations that I've asked him to, but he will also infuse more play into it. And I love that for my website. I love that for all the clients that I work with because Jose works on a majority of our projects as well. But there is so much to be said about creating a unique experience. I really believe that the most powerful websites are the ones that don't look like anybody else's. The last phase of any website is the quality control phase. And it's not super exciting, but it is the most important. Although I've said the most important for almost everything. So you take that with a grain of salt. But I think it's so important to quality control your website. And there's a few things to do within that. So you're going to need to read through the copy and hire a proofreader if you can. I hired a proofreader to go through all of the copy, Eoin's proofreading, and I will link his information below. And he was able to go through and pinpoint things that I didn't see before. It's the grammar things, it's the spelling mistakes, the things that you're doing when you're writing so quickly that you don't even think about it. And even going back through and reading it yourself, sometimes it's hard to pick it up. So he was able to go through and write a list of all the things that I needed to fix. And I am so grateful because you don't want to look like a fool. You don't want to look like, oh, she misspelled this thing. How do you misspell that? Or a comma somewhere that doesn't need a comma. You know, it's the little things, and not everybody's going to notice them, but it really makes your website stand out. Then going through the design on multiple screens is super important. So going through it on a laptop or wherever you're watching, going through it on an iPad, going through it on a phone, a large screen, a smaller screen, to make sure that you are not missing anything that feels a little bit off. There's a lot of times that it can be hard to pick up every single thing. That's where I like to ask friends or family to look through things. So my partner will go through my website and he clicks through different buttons, make sure that everything looks right. And he's great because he's looking at it from a consumer point of view. He's not a designer, he's not a developer or copywriter or anything in the creative world. So his point of view is really important to me because he's just looking through and seeing, okay, what just doesn't actually click well? What doesn't work and doesn't feel like it makes sense to the story? And if it does, then he'll have no notes. And I would recommend not just using one person, so having a couple people look through it, maybe your closest friends or like your best friend or a business partner or somebody on your team to go through, because they know you and they know your business, so they can be able to help you go through that proofreading and the quality control process, making sure photos are formatted correctly, that colors show up well, that things aren't jarring, just to make sure that everything is top-notch, because you spent so much time on your website. If you've worked with a designer, you're spending so much money on a website, and you really want to make sure that it is super impactful and you don't have to do it again, because it takes a long time, am I right? I mean, I've been going through this process since November, and it is April now. And that's a quick turnaround. It doesn't always happen that quickly either. So do your due diligence, take your time, take a deep breath. There's a lot of things to think about when you're putting a website together. And this was just like scratching the surface of what we did to redo our website. There's a lot of other things that were nested inside each of the categories. But all that said, then you get to launch your website. Yay! And for me, it's the most exciting thing, not just for me as launching my own website, but whenever my clients launch their website, it makes me so excited because you're putting your new self out there. It's like getting a makeover, and everybody gets to see all the hard work that you've put in and really be re-excited and re-energized about your brand and your business. I think this is super important for people who are doing impact-driven work because sometimes it can get slow, and a website relaunch is a great way to create more impact, drive more traffic to your website, and drive more traffic to you and what you do. So launch day is super exciting, and I'm so excited to be launching my website. You can check it out at serifdesign.com and look through all the things that I talked about and see if you can kind of pinpoint, oh yeah, that's what she was saying when she was talking about writing messaging in this particular way. Of course, if you're looking for a website designed or developed, you can always come to us. We would love to help you, particularly if you are a nonprofit or a socially conscious brand who's looking to drive impact through your website. That is our strong suit. That is our sweet spot, and we would love to be a part of that conversation and helping you really touch lives and move those mountains. If you have questions about the website process, feel free to drop your comments below, or you can send us an email at hello@serifdesign.com, and we would love to connect with you more to share our tips and tricks of website design and everything that goes into creating the most impactful brand that you can. Until then,